Welcome to my Flash CS5 tutorial number 3. It's titled Basic Animation, Step-by-Step, Tween and Guided Tween. Open up your CS5 program and click on this Action Script 3 button. I want to use a animation I have from a previous tutorial, so I'm going to open that up. You can draw a ball, but I'm going to open up a recent one. That has this nice little spaceship in it. There's the spaceship. If you're doing this and open this folder up, unlock all the layers, because that's all that's on this tutorial. With your selection tool, highlight it, get your cursor on it, right click, copy it. Don't need this program anymore. Close it off. We don't want to save anything changes. And now we're back to the tutorial. Here you can just pick up the oval tool or the rectangle tool and draw yourself some object. I'm going to paste in that little flying saucer. There it is. Double click on my first layer and call it Saucer 1. Saucer 1. Pick up my highlight tool, highlight it, go up here to modify. Click on it, convert to symbol. Make sure graphic is selected and call it saucer. Let's click on the stage somewhere, right click. Open the properties panel. Right down here under properties, this is the stage. And right here is the color of the stage, and this is the rate that our frames are going to be. That's going from frame to frame to frame to frame. And the size we want is 700 by 550. You can use those little arrows and go back and forth, but I find it quicker to just type it in. Go back to close the property panel. Go down to 25% just so we can get some perspective of where our saucer is. Select frame 1 and let's move the saucer up here. Right click on frame 10, insert a keyframe. That's going to bring the saucer with us. Open the properties panel right here. Select the saucer with your selection tool, and this position and size comes up. On the X axis, I want to increment this by 25. Click on it, drag it to the right, roughly 25. There's close enough. Insert a keyframe on frame 20. Insert. Highlight it again. Add another 25, brings it close to 100. Click on it, drag it up close to 100. Don't be too fussy with this. Grab the red rectangle. Move it over. Click on frame 30. Insert a keyframe. Highlight the spaceship. 125. Click on frame 40. And I wanted to do that until I got my spaceship about here on the stage. So I'm going to stop now and I'll come back. Now you found yourself probably in a situation where this ended and you couldn't go any further. If you grab this red lever and pull it, it'll move my timeline down. And I'm going to do one more here on the 150, and I'm going to, mine will end up at 450 approximately. So now, if I test at that, click the control button, test movie, test. There's my spaceship going across the stage 25 pixels at a time. And it's going over and over and over and over. That's the first way to animate. So let's go back to frame 1. Let's lock this layer. Padlock, lock it. Let's put a second layer and call him Saucer 2. Select frame 1. And now I want you to go up to the Windows panel, click on it, and click on Library. And this opens a library, and there's that saucer we made. Click on it and drag a saucer over here. If you can get on your stage, it's all right, but anywhere over here. Close that library panel, and now that's where the library panel is going to be docked for us. Okay. All we did was picked up a copy of this one. So let's make that a little bigger, 100%. And because we made it the graphic, we can work on it. So make sure you highlight it. Over here in your Properties panel, you'll see something called Color Effects. See this one? Color Effects. Under Style, click on it, and we have something called Tint. And we can slightly change the colors of all this. So I'm going to make it more red. So now I have two spaceships. They're the same graphic, but this one's got more red than that. Close your Properties panel. And this time we're going to do what's called a tween. So instead of putting in all of these individual keyframes, we're going to go all the way up to the end. See this little bar here? Go all the way up to the end. And right here on this last frame, right click and insert a keyframe. There it is. Now click anywhere in this area, anywhere between here and that last and frame 0. Right click, create classic tween. And if you have a solid line with an arrow on the end of it, it's going to work. So now click back to that last frame, and there's the other spaceship, the spaceship 1. Open the Properties panel. Now we could have dragged it, but we know that this one was up around 500 each, so let's just make this 500. Enter, and there it's gone. Now we could have dragged it. It's slightly hit. Oh yeah, it wasn't 500, it was 475. So let's make it 475. Let's open that Properties panel and make it 475. 475. Make them a bit even. There. Close it. Now test your movie. Control Enter, and look how much smoother this one is than that. That's a tween. Okay. So now let's do one more tween. Let's go back to the library. Let's go back to frame 1. Pull this lever over back to frame 1. Lock this layer. Open another layer. Saucer 3. Saucer 3. Select frame 1. Open that library panel. Drag your saucer on. Close the library panel. Open the Properties panel. Get that Color Effect tab. Tint. And let's make this one more green than anything else. There we go. Almost like take some red out of it. There. Close the Property panel. Let's drag him. Let's go back to our 50%, get some perspective again. Let's drag him down here. This one's called a guided tween. So go all the way up to this last frame. Right click, insert a keyframe. We're going to make a tween just like we did before. and either drag this up here or go to the properties panel, but we want it up there somewhere around that 475 mark. Click on the somewhere back here on this, any of these frames, right click, create a tween. We got that solid blue line so we know it's working. Lock that layer. Insert a layer. Double click on the layer, on that little layer envelope, and this panel opens up, and down here, guide, click on that and call it guide, G-U-I-D-E. If you've not done this before, you're going to really learn something here that you'll use a lot. Okay, we've got this guide layer. Now before we actually do something on this guide layer, I want to get roughly some indication where my last saucer is. So I'm going to go over and just grab my pencil right there, and I'm just going to put a line here and a line here, and that tells me if I join those two lines that would be the center of my spaceship. Go up, selection tool, go all the way back to frame 1, pick that pencil up again and draw a line from there, that's where those two intersect, and make it a line that goes up and down like that. Now if yours is not as smooth as mine, come over here and see you got these three options. You want the smooth option, because when you have the smooth option, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to do it again. I've got the smooth option, up and down and up and down, whichever doesn't matter what pattern you got. Get your selection tool, double click on it until it all lights up. Hold your shift down if you have to, and now click on this smooth button and it can change it. See that? So I'm going to delete that. Something there I could delete. And let's do this once more. Back to scene 1. Alright, I'm going to try to make this relatively simple. 1, 2, and right into there. And I'm happy with that smoothness. If I wasn't, I could click on it, highlight it, and straighten it out. Pick my selection tool up. Now go up to here. It's called guide. You see this little hammer? That means it's a guide. It's a guide for whatever is put inside of that guide. Click on this envelope. So you got a blue. Hold your key down and put it up into there, and you'll see that little arm move over. And when you're finished, see how this is indented and these dotted? That means that this guide is going to track this spaceship. We still have frame 1 of the guide selected. Delete that piece of information and delete that. Now we want to zoom in a little bit here, so let's go to 100% and lock the guide layer, unlock saucer 3, select frame 1, and as long as that little circle, and I found it best that if you actually take it off the circle, off the line, and bring it back down on the line, that's good. Go all the way up to the end here. Click on this last frame of the saucer and see it's on the line, but I want to take it off. And as long as I hit that line, tab, I'm just using my arrow keys. There it is. It don't have to be on the end, but we're going to put it on the end. And just hit the enter button. Now let's test that. Control, test, test. And there's our, that's our step by step. That's our straight tween. And that bottom one is our guided tween. Lock all the layers. Open your properties panel. Click on the stage color. Pick up black. And let's just do one last test. And notice that this line isn't visible. This is just, it's not, you won't see this line. Test the movie, and there goes our spaceships. Make sure you save your FLA, because you could always use these pieces for some other project. I hope you learned something from this tutorial, and I hope you use what you learned.